Stand by. Good day and welcome to the Deltek's new Business Intelligence and Executive Dashboard Solution for GCS Premier Web Conference. As a reminder, today's conference is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Ms. Lucia Krinsky. Please go ahead.
Thank you, and hello everyone. Welcome to the new Business Intelligence Solution with GCS Premier Analytics webcast. Before we begin, I just want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. To view the webcast in full screen, you just need to hit F5 on your keyboard. F5 again will bring you back to a minimized screen. If at any time you're experiencing technical issues, just press *0 on your phone and someone will assist you. If you would like to ask a question during any time at the presentation, you can type it into the question manager by selecting the Q&A tab on the top of your screen, and we will address questions at the end of the presentation. During today's presentation, you'll have the opportunity to hear from Nikki Mehta, Deltek's GCS Market Manager, Kara Harrod, Deltek's GCS Premier Analytics Specialist, and Michael Santens, Executive Vice President and CFO at Charles Day & Associates. Let's go ahead and get started. Deltek's GCS Premier Analytics is the new Business Intelligence and Executive Dashboard for GCS Premier. During today's presentation, we will cover many topics. First, we'll hear from Michael Santens, and who'll talk about government contracting trends. Second, we'll hear from Nikki Mehta with the GCS Premier Analytics overview. And third, Kara Harrod, our GCS Premier Analytics Specialist, will provide a product demonstration. Michael Santens is currently the Executive Vice President and CFO at Charles Day & Associates. Before that, he was CFO at Integrity Applications Incorporated. And during that time, where he was CFO, Integrity Applications won the 2009 Deltek Corporate Business Impact Award and the 2009 Deltek GCS Outstanding Performance Achievement Award. Michael Santens has years of industry expertise in government contracting and lots of certifications behind him as well. He's going to spend the next couple of minutes discussing with you the current trends that he sees in government contracting for small business. Michael, would you like to go ahead and get started?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this web conference. We're really excited about the Premier Analytics. I think you'll be excited about what we do. And let me move into the government contracting trends of what we're seeing. What we're seeing is that with the stimulus package and the President Obama's package, that we're actually finding that the competitive landscape is drastically changing. That you'll find the volume is up and the value is down. So we're competing for scarcer dollars amongst many more people and those players, and because of that, actually we're finding that the average contract value dropped from $1 million to $400,000 in 2007. Yet competition is increasing because the new administration wants to have competitive and try to have a fair and open and more transparency, if you will. And because of that, with the Recovery Act, it also encourages competitive awards, and with that, what we're finding out is that it's a lot more competitive out there. So what we're seeing specifically now is that a contract type is actually shifting for us. And if you look at it, it doesn't look that significant, but in real dollars, it actually becomes very significant. Fixed prices down by about 5%, and cost type contracts also declined 5%, with time and materials moving up about 10% overall. But that's really the tip of the iceberg, because what the iceberg and the mass of the ice underneath the water really tells you what's happened in the last 3 years is that the number of fixed price contract actions has increased significantly, and time and materials moving down while cost type contracts are actually remaining flat, and they're trending to hold where they are. Now, looking forward to what we see on the horizon, the stimulus spending looks to increase fixed price, which should be no surprise to anyone with all the government contract reforms and procurement reforms, and particularly since the declining government contract workforce is actually decreasing. There's an article in Wall Street Journal today, in fact, about that. What we'll find is that fixed price and time and materials are much easier to handle and much easier to evaluate. So because of that, what you'll find is that the fixed price will actually increase and the other ones will not. So overall impact, more contracts, more competitions, however, lower dollar value and a lot more companies fighting for the same dollars.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yeah, given this change in the contracting landscape, it's really critical for government contractors and project-driven businesses to have visibility into their project risks and profitability drivers. And this is where GCS Premier Analytics comes in. Now, GCS Premier Analytics is a business intelligence and executive dashboard, but it's not just an executive dashboard. You know, when I think of a dashboard, I think of, getting into my car, I look at the car dashboard. Now, my car dashboard tells me exactly where I'm at that moment, how many miles per hour I'm going, what are my RPMs, how much fuel I have, is my service light on. But it doesn't tell me how did I get there and where are we going. This is really where GCS Premier Analytics comes in, is that not only does it provide where are we right at that specific moment, but also how did we get there and where are we going, and this helps you make better business decisions. Now, from a Deltek perspective, we've made a major investment in business intelligence and analytics solutions, and this is because we believe that this can really help our customers and prospects be able to change the way that they're managing their businesses and really be able to manage their business in a whole new way. Now, for the process of going through the process of building an analytical solution, we went through a pretty rigorous requirements gathering process. We wanted to make sure that the product we built met our customers' needs. And so we went through a pretty rigorous process of talking to executives as well as holding focus groups, one-on-one interviews, and also reviewing these requirements at our user groups. So why do government contractors and project-driven businesses need an analytical solution? Well, one of the key things, as Mike mentioned, given some of the changes that are happening in the contracting landscape, it's really key for businesses to be able to manage their growth and financial viability of their firms. And to be able to do this, there's 4 key goals that they need to be able to accomplish. First of all, you need to be able to optimize your projects and resources. Really be able to have key performance, really be able to have visibility to your key performance metrics so that you can understand things like, what are my most profitable projects? What are my least profitable projects? What about my resources? The second key goal is really focusing on cost containment. Do you really understand how costs are impacting your projects, especially now given the transparency that the government is asking from their customers? And this really means that you need to be able to better understand your indirect rates. Are they in line with your projections? Are they out of control? Same with your unallowables. The third key goal is really being able to manage your risks, but not just being able to manage those risks, but also being able to proactively prevent those risks and be able to influence the future for positive results. And the last key goal is really being able to make a minimal upfront investment and achieve quick ROI. So this is really where Premier Analytics comes in. With the Premier Analytics, first of all, can help you optimize those projects and resources and give you the visibility that you need to the right projects and the right resources. Now, as we all know, within GCS Premier, there's a lot of great information, information about your GL, your budgets, your projects. But the challenges that we hear from employees or from customers is that a lot of times they can't get the information they need when they need it. And when they do get it, it's out of date or it's inaccurate. Also, we hear that they need to be able to better understand if the company is meeting its financial, staffing, as well as project objectives. You want to be able to make proactive decisions and stay profitable. And this is where with Premier Analytics we deliver an executive dashboard. Now, it's not just a dashboard. We deliver over 15 of your key metrics with hundreds of views. We also have the ability to drill down to charts, graphs, and reports. Now, the benefit here is that now you have greater visibility into your company's health. You can better understand, are you invested in the right projects? Mike, as we all know, one bad project gone undetected can destroy an entire firm's profitability.
You're exactly right, and that's exactly why I count on and rely on Premier Analytics. Without something to give me exactly what I'm looking for real time, I'm not going to know where I really stand. It's the problem with accounting in many ways, you're always looking in the past to see what happened, you're closing the month out, you're reconciling what happened. The advantage of Premier Analytics allows you to look more into the future and look around the corner. But the key significant and the key driver is that final benefit. It uses real-time and actual data. No more are we transposing numbers, no more are we having to duplicate effort, so we can actually streamline our shop, and with those cost savings, we can do better and wonderful things.
In Premier Analytics, we focused on 4 key subject areas. First, we wanted to make sure that executives had a high-level summary, and that this is really through the revenue summary, and this provides executives the ability to quickly grasp and understand where are they in terms of profitability, revenues, as well as days sales outstanding. The second key subject area was financial health, really making sure you understood your financial health in terms of accounts receivable, accounts payable, cash receipts, and G&A unallowables.
Yeah, this is really important because whenever I've had the owners of the business, they always want to know where we are for cash accounts and where we are for cash receipts and what are we really doing for AP. Because of that, Premier Analytics allows them to look real time into the actual account numbers, and they can actually figure out where we are. And that helps them understand and avoids a lot of questions, a lot of confusion. It also allows us to concentrate on other things that are more important at the time, but at the same time still answering and satisfying their needs.
The third key subject area was on the resource side. You know, obviously you want to understand how your employees are impacting your labor utilization. What are your top 10 employees? What about your bottom 20? Why aren't they performing? And then also project health. Obviously, being a project-driven business, you need to be able to understand where you are with your contracts. So we provide metrics such as what are your top 10 contracts? What about your bottom 10 contracts? What are the bottom 10 that are dragging profitability? Where are you in terms of funding and unfunded backlog, as well as project burn rate?
Nikki, I wanted to point out as well that when you look at these 4 metrics and you look at them from a holistic perspective, they really tie in each other very nicely. For example, we all know that funded and unfunded backlog really leads to the financial health and solid aspects of the company. That project burn rate is important because what that does lets you know if you're burning hot or if you're burning cold. And you can get that information via the resource metrics for the labor utilization because labor utilization really drives the company. And that's how you drive your revenue and profitability. But then I check my days outstanding in the upper right-hand quadrant for financial metrics. I make sure that's all balanced with my accounts receivable, my AP, my cash receipts. And with that whole process, I can maintain a good snapshot of where the company is, and the owners feel comfortable, and everyone's on the same sheet of music. I call that visualizing or visual centering. Very important to do.
Now let's go through a quick example. You know, as you all want to know is what are your most profitable projects? What about your least profitable projects? Here's how you would go through that process on a spreadsheet. As you can see in this top quadrant, you have construction management. And construction management, you can see that, by the way, you can see that in the top row, you have revenue, then construction management. You can see construction management is driving $1.6 million in revenues. Command communications, on the other hand, is bringing in only $80,000 in revenue. However, on the cost side, construction management, 76% of the revenues are also cost-related, whereas you can see on command communications, your costs are much, much less. So going through this analysis, you can determine, well, maybe it's not such a good idea to invest solely on just large projects like construction management, and maybe you need to invest more on smaller projects like command communications. Now, as we all know also, sometimes going through this on a spreadsheet can be error-prone, it can lead to inaccuracies, it can be time-consuming as well. And in a paper that was written by the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth, researchers examined 25 spreadsheets provided by different consulting companies, financial services, and manufacturing, as well as educational institutes. They found over 117 errors, 60% of which had a quantitative impact, the largest of them a staggering $100 million. So this is where not having to use spreadsheets and being able to use an analytical tool like Premier Analytics can be very helpful. So here you can see we can easily determine with Premier Analytics what are our top 10 projects or contracts by profitability. This way you can easily know where you're profitable, where you should pursue contracts to replicate that same success, and where you need to compete. Now, additionally, with Premier Analytics, we also provide historical trending. Again, with GCS Premier, many times the information there is just from the previous period. But what Premier Analytics does is it actually pulls in real time the information from GCS Premier, and it archives that information month after month, day after day. That way, you now have a historical summary, and you can have historical trending as well. You can also easily understand where your billable resources, how are they impacting the bottom line. Here you can see what your bottom 20 employees are in the company.
That's important because obviously when you have employees and they're not being utilized very well, or they're on the bench, what you're doing, you're having to subsidize their efforts, and because of that, you're actually draining from the actual company itself. So it allows me to have a quick look into who are the people I should be concerned about. Naturally, some of them, they're understandable because they're G&A employees or they're overhead of doing bid and proposal work. But the other ones I need to look at very carefully and then talk to their team leader to make sure they're doing. Yeah, the other thing, too, is make sure that on the other side that someone's not working so extensively that they have poor quality of life and may have morale problems. So from a macro perspective, this really allows me to look at both ends of the spectrum, from the alpha to the omega. It allows me to manage my company not just through numbers, but also through those indirect or those soft factors that really makes a good company better and a better company great.
The second key goal that Premier Analytics helps you accomplish is cost containment. Again, this is really key given that the new administration is asking for transparency and really wants to understand how you're spending their money. So to be able to do that, you really need to be able to analyze the data to better understand how did we get here. And with analysis, you can really better understand, are we going in the right direction? What about my indirect rates? Are they in line with the projections I made in the previous year, or are they getting out of control? Do I have the right mix of contracts? As Mike spoke about, the mix of contracts is shifting with more fixed price contracts being awarded. So it's really key to make sure you have that right mix. Can you easily understand your most profitable, least profitable? What about your project managers and your resources? How are they impacting your profitability and your revenues? So the benefit here with the analysis capability with Premier Analytics is that you can make corrective actions. For example, with your indirect rates, you don't want to go back to your customer and ask for more money or have to give money back. You can also quantify not just your project profitability, but how the non-project profitability as well. And as we know, if you look at just things at a high level, then sometimes you mask some of the critical items. But by being able to drill down, you can unmask some of those critical flaws.
The nice part about this whole process that I found is that I'm a strong believer in the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. 20% of all of our projects yield 80% of the revenues or problems or something like that. So you're looking at it, what this allows me to do is I can get to that point very quickly, and I can make sure that the owners the team leads, all the financial staff, we're all seeing the same picture, and we can fix it. We can look at our indirect rates and our unallowables, then we can make sure we're taking corrective actions, because I don't want to have to give money back to the government, nor do I want to have to make sure that I want to also make sure we're being profitable. And this whole process, I think, is wonderful to allow us to do that.
Okay, so let's go through a quick example. So here we are back in Premier Analytics. This is a view that provides how your general and administrative costs or expenses are being spread throughout the company. And you can see here with this company that legal is over 15% of the total G&A. So now we can drill down into the legal expenses and see exactly what's going on. And you can see legal drove, I think it was about a total of $15,000, but you can see about $9,600 of that was due to a contract protest advice. And that may be, something that's the right way to spend that money, but you can now take a look at your unallowables and see exactly what's going on. The third key goal that Premier Analytics helps you with is to be able to proactively identify risks and resolve those risks before they impact you financially. So you want to be able to avert those disasters before they happen. Some of the key things we hear about is executives need to be able to understand what is their cash position. Do they have enough incoming to balance the outstanding receivables? What about the company viability? Do we have enough funded backlog, or do we need to be pursuing more new projects to make up for that draining funded backlog? What about the projects? What projects are at risk? So having this kind of ability to understand, you can identify negative trends and take immediate response and correction. And you can also prevent risks before they happen.
And the nice part about this whole thing, Nikki, when you think about it, is that what it's allowing me to do is evaluate my cash position real time. Allows my owners to evaluate cash position real time. Because like it or not, cash is king. And then looking at that whole thing, is my company still viable? Where are my projects at? But what I really like about this is that we're no longer in the accounting world just looking merely backwards. We can actually forecast risk. I can take some mitigation strategies. I can now influence the future. And that influencing the future is critical if we're going to survive as a small or mid-sized company with the mid-tier squeeze with the contracts. Because we know with the higher increase in contracts being competed for at the lower dollars, every win's important, and I have to be able to do accurate risk assessment along the way.
So let's go through a quick example. Here we have accounts receivable by company. You can again drill down. We don't just want great graphics. We really want to be able to identify problems early. So it drills down into this report. And in this report, you can see that over $400,000 is outstanding, and it's been outstanding for over 6 months. So now you can quickly identify these problems and take actions, and take proactive actions. So the other key thing we heard about from customers and executives was that they wanted minimal upfront investment and to be able to achieve a quick ROI. So Mike, what have you seen in terms of being able to achieve a quick ROI?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Nikki. Let me share a horror story. I know it's not Halloween yet. It's not Friday the 13th. But let me tell you, it was a dark, cold, stormy night out there, and I had been persuaded to go for a new software, for a software that would really help us with labor distribution, measure profitability on the projects, and try to do the same things that Premier Analytics is doing for us now. In doing so, I said, okay, we'll do that. I said, I have no problem doing that. And what happened is that the initial cost wound up being 3 times, almost 4 times more. My time of duration actually wound up going from the promised 60 days to something closer to 10 or 11 months. And the user interface was horrible because nothing worked and nothing synced with the Deltek product. So I had an add-on patch process that wasn't working. And to me, I'm very skeptical of having add-ins if they're not a turnkey solution with the same software, just because it makes things so much easier.
This is really where we focused with GCS Premier Analytics. We wanted to make sure that the product was deployable on day one. So some key things to note about Premier Analytics: you don't need to have an expensive services engagement. You don't need expensive consultants. The installation is also very quick as well. You can quickly install the product, and there's a wizard that will take you through any other software that you may need to download, and you can also import data after that from GCS Premier. The third key thing is that it's out of the box. Everything that we've been showing you in the slide and that Kara is going to show you during the demonstration is out of the box. You don't need to have services or consultants engaged to have those capabilities. So out of the box, we have built-in thresholds, built-in calculations, built-in drill downs to charts and reports. We've really tried to think through the use cases that you would need to help you solve business problems. And then lastly, it's very minimal configuration for the administrator. You can add, remove. All you have to do is basically add, remove your executive user licenses, import data from GCS Premier, as well as schedule daily updates from GCS Premier. So having these capabilities really allows us to have a product that's deployable on day one. So just a quick summary on Premier Analytics before we hand off to Kara for the demo. Again, this is specifically designed for GCS Premier. We really felt that business intelligence and executive dashboards would help our customers better solve business problems. It delivers out-of-the-box role-based dashboards, and this dashboard is applicable for owners as well as CFOs, controllers, financial executives, general managers, and operational managers. We really wanted to follow the philosophy of GCS Premier, where it's very easy to use, easy to install, and easy to configure. And this is an analytical tool. It's not just reports. It's not just dashboards. It's much more than that. And lastly, the goal here was to augment as well as provide real-time data. This doesn't replace Impromptu or the operational reports of Impromptu, but the goal here is to really provide you real-time data so you can make better decisions.
Yeah, everything you said is right, Nikki. We're really glad to be part of this as an early adopter and trying to make this better and figure out how to use this from a business perspective. From a business intelligence perspective, what we find is it's giving us the real-time data. We're not having to input the data again. We're not having a fat finger transmission stuff. I can have my resources going exactly where we want to go. And instead of applications that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or $50,000, $60,000, this is a much affordable package.
Okay. All right, now we're going to hand off to Kara Herod, who's going to take us through a live product demo.
Good afternoon. This is Kara Herod with Deltek, and you should see on your screen right now is the Deltek Premier Analytics login. So each user that you give access to the application is going to have their own user ID, password. And when that executive logs in, it's going to bring up what we call a home page, or the financial summary of the company. Before I start talking about the individual graphs and reports within here, a quick overview of the application. As Nikki mentioned, Premier Analytics is broken into 4 parts. We have revenue, finance, projects, and resources. And as I hover over each of these areas, you can see some of the reports that are available within each of these different areas. Taking a look first at the financial summary, as the executive, I can see a quick review of my accounts receivable, cash receipts, scrolling down, accounts payable, and my unallowable G&A. To get more information on any one of these reports, it's a matter of selecting that report, and this is going to bring up just this, in this case, just this specific accounts receivable. So as that executive, I can see the trends for the past 12 months, the blue highlighting less than 45 days, so kind of our current month billing. The gold is significant for aged billings, so those that are over 45 days. And the green is our unbilled with my dollar values on the left-hand side. So very quickly I can see what's being billed out, what's kind of stale invoices that are sitting out there so I can keep track, and if that starts to expand at all, talk to my controller about what's delaying billings, and also keep track of those items that we're not billing out. If that expands, why is it expanding? So we certainly want the unbilled to be as small as possible. To see what makes up any one of those columns, it's simply a matter of selecting it to see that drill down feature that Nikki mentioned. And the drill down is going to sort, in this case, those bills by the billing dates. So it makes it very easy to hone in on those large, older invoices. And again, take this information back to my controller. Why aren't we being billed? The graphs themselves, as well as the detail, can be exported out to Excel, PDF, to a printer, so they can be printed out of the system. So all of the reports I'm going to show you during this presentation can be exported using any one of those options. So now that we've seen bills going out of the company, trends that might be developing as a result of that, on the other side I can take a look at cash coming in. So the payments that we're receiving in different configurable options, different view rights, so we can see over the last 12 months the cash that's being received, trends that might be developing. The blue signifies my posted cash receipts, but for your current or future months, it can also show you what hasn't been posted yet. Again, so we can get you the data as real time as possible, and you can take all factors into consideration, so not just what was posted, what's still sitting out there as well. And I can drill into these if I want to see if a particular invoice was paid. It'll give me that detail for each month of all of my outstanding receivables, which ones have come in, the bill number, the project information. I may want to see how long is it taking for our bills to be paid. So moving over to the revenue, I can see days sales outstanding. And again, changing to that 12-month filter, any trends that might be developing. So last year about this time we were at about probably 56 to 60 days. It dropped off around December, January, and that seems to be picking back up again. So again, how long is it taking our bills to be paid? Really keep an eye on this information, because the quicker, as Mike mentioned, cash is king. So the quicker we can get these in, is there a way that we can bring this down, maybe back to December and January where we're doing something different that we can continue to do to keep that number down. Revenue and profitability. Those are always key metrics for executives. And with our revenue, we have different configurable options. And this particular report really displays some different variables that can be taken into consideration. So as an executive, I can look at my revenue current period. So over a period of this fiscal year, what revenue are we bringing in each month? I could change this year to date. I may want to see it inception to date. Change it from fiscal year. I want to see a trend for the last 12 months. And in this case, we're looking pretty good. We've been steadily increasing over this year time frame. April's down a little bit. With this particular database, my current month is April, with my future being May. So that probably means if I'm looking at current month April, we just haven't finalized the month yet. So that's all right. I'll keep an eye on that, make sure it does go up once we finalize and close the month. And if I scroll down a little bit, at the bottom it shows me that the date refreshed, so I can continually see when the date is refreshed and current. So the executive doesn't need to go ask this information. It's available in all of the reports. Some other configurable options, we've got targets versus actuals, so both rate options are in here, as well as going back to different contract types. So if you want to keep track of revenue with fixed price versus cost plus or time and material, it may determine what contract types you go after in the future. So if you're doing better revenue or profitability with your fixed price, that may be where you want to focus future efforts on. So many of these reports do have that contract type option where we can see the information broken down by any of those. Very similar report is available for profitability, but I want to see what my top 10 profitable contracts are. So it's just a matter of coming over. This is going to give me those top 10 profitable contracts, so I could see the projects across the left-hand side. It gives me the dollar value, so I can quickly see those profitable contracts. But switching over to my bottom 10, which ones are at risk? Which ones am I not making a lot of profit on? So I might want to focus efforts on these areas and figure out what the problem is. Another filter option is by division. So if you're tracking projects by division, if it's a specific area, or you might set up divisions by project manager, this will give you the ability to then see bottom 10 projects for a particular division. What's our burn rate for the company? So using funding, unfunded information that's stored within the contract master file, I can take a look at my funding gap or my burn rate. So for this particular company, for the entire company, I can see we have just over 4 months worth of funding. If I add on to that what we've been promised are unfunded, but we just haven't received the funds yet, it's going to add another just over 3 months. So I have total for the company just under 8 months worth of funding. So this is important because I can see that I need to go to my business development team, have a talk with them, see what's going on. Do we have proposals outstanding that we're expecting an award on? Maybe some follow-on tasks to bring business in. Follow up with my contracts group, find out when we're going to be getting the unfunded values, target dates on that. And you have those same options if you want to see this information for a particular division or focus in on a particular contract type. There may be anticipation that a large contract is going to be ending soon. So going back to the top 10 contracts, it's very easy to come down and run the earliest completion date. So which of my projects are going to be ending? And here I can see the project task relating back to the period of performance end date. And if one of these is my significant contract, we have a lot of labor force on here. I can now go over and take a look at labor utilization and maybe start to reallocate resources or plan to reallocate some resources. So this is showing me a trended view over the last 12 months of my total employee base. Again, you have those configurable options at the top depending on how you want to see this information. We were at a user group this week, and someone came up and was telling me that this report stood out a lot for them because they had many different divisions, and the divisional managers all calculated their labor utilization differently. And so there wasn't a standard throughout the company on how labor utilization was being handled. So they felt that this was going to be really key for them because now they can get some consistency across divisions and really be able to determine what the labor utilization, whether it's for the company or a specific division within that company. So there was consistency. So not only with the labor utilization, but that's going to be able to apply across many of the reports that we've taken a look at so far. Changing my view to the employee. So this is going to show me those bottom 20 employees initially. So who aren't we utilizing as well as we could be? And even from here, I can go a little bit further and take a look at Kevin. And over the last 12 months, Kevin was being pretty well utilized around probably 70% through most of last year, and something happened at the beginning of this year. It could have been a contract end, but I'm going to want to see what's going on with Kevin. It looks like he's sitting on the bench. As Mike mentioned, we're utilizing resources and cash to support Kevin because he's not billable. So what can we do for Kevin? Do we have a new project coming in that we can move him over to? So we definitely need to make some decisions here with Kevin. Changing over to the top 20, is there anyone we're overutilizing? Again, we want happy employees. We don't want to burn them out. So this is going to give me those top 20 employees. And very quickly I can see the employee name, and again drill into here to see if maybe it was a proposal he was working on. So we have that spike just for a particular month. So it really gives a lot of insights into the company or into specific divisional information to see the utilization of that employee count. And now how is all of this affecting our indirect rates? We have indirect rate reports that are going to display each of the indirect rates, whether it's for the company or by division. I can see my targets are my green pointer. Actuals are green pointer. The targets are the blue. And drilling into that graph, it gives me some more detailed information. So for this fiscal year, I can see our fringe rate was kind of high in January, but it looks like it evens itself out in February. So the blues are our actuals month to month, and the gold is our target. So we pretty much evened out. We're staying pretty much on target. I can change down to my G&A pool, and we're underrunning G&A for this year. Change my view for the last 12 months, and we've been pretty consistently underrunning this for the last year. So my first question here is, why didn't we lower that provisional rate for the current year? Because again, going back to what Mike was saying, the last thing we want to do is give money back to the government, or in reverse, if we were overrunning, have to ask for money to cover the expenses.
Or maybe you have a spend plan and you know you have a huge proposal coming forward, and because of that you're going to use G&A dollars you have to set aside for that. And that's going to be your reserve. So you're managing to your reserve numbers right now. This allows you to make sure you're tracking that effectively and efficiently.
Thanks, Mike. So the implementation, as Nikki mentioned, it's a very easy install. It's a matter of just bringing your current month in, then importing in those prior period information, and that's going to build the trend information that you see going forward, just bringing that current period in to continue to update the data within the application. So it is a very easy install and maintenance going forward. Nikki, turning it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Kara. So now we'll just open it up for Q&A. Do you want to take that away, Lucia?
Yes, I do. We've had a couple of questions come in. One of the questions that comes in that everyone always seems to be interested in, so it's more of a logistical question, and I'll just answer that before we get started, which is, will you have access to the slides and the recording of this presentation? And we will give you access to the slides and the recording of this presentation in an email with links to download that information within a few days after the presentation. So you can all look for that. Nikki, we also had a question about the product availability. Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually had this product out in the market since about mid-June timeframe. But at that time, we made it available on a limited basis. And actually, today launches the day that we are going to make this generally available to all of our customers. You'll all be seeing an announcement on the general availability of the product pretty soon.
Okay.
So we're pretty excited about that. We've gotten pretty great feedback in the last month and previous months to that as customers have been betaing and deploying the product.
Great. Let's see here. I think this is probably a question for Kara, but as I'm posing these out to the members of the team here, feel free to jump in if you're a better expert if I call out the wrong name, okay? So there's a question. Does this pull historical data, or will it be just for the data moving forward from the installation time?
It will be for the historical data. So the way it works is the first load you'll do is current month, and then you'll go back. So each month before you close, you should have made a backup of that database. So you should have a database backup for January, February, March, going back into 2008. Those databases, you'll be able to upload each of them so that if you went live tomorrow, you would have that historical trend going back through the last 12 months. So it's definitely current and past, as long as you have that backup database.
Okay, and then in addition to that, Kara, does this system also pull from audit directories? And I think you already answered this part, but how does it show previous year data?
Yes, it's this prior. Yes, it does pull from those audit directories, and the trendings right now, I think the max is 12 months. So as long as you've got 12 months worth of backups, you'll be able to do that load and have that historical data view.
Okay, great. Then there's a question for Mike. As a CFO, how does this help you better manage cash?
Well, it does a couple things in that, one, it makes sure that everyone's on the same sheet of music. And what I mean by that is that the owners sometimes want to take an owner's draw or they want to do something like that, and it's really not the best time for that. And what this allows everyone to do is see that. And what it does from my perspective, it makes me kind of not necessarily have to be the bad guy all the time, and I like that. I just show them the data and say, is this really sure what you want at this point in time? For me, it's a great tool just to manage the political environment with the cash flow.
Okay, thanks. Great. Another question for Kara. Is this ready to be hosted by TBS?
Actually, Lucia, I'll take that question. Yeah, not only just TBS, but we provided partner training to all of our partners in the last week, and they're all excited about rolling this product out. But absolutely, if you're hosted on TBS today, then they can support Premier Analytics as well. And just please follow up with your sales representative to get further information on that.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that too. We do have a couple of questions in here as regards to the cost of the product. Our goal here is to provide this level of business intelligence to the small business community at an affordable rate. If you'd like more detailed pricing for the product, it's probably best for you to reach out to your sales rep and contact them. I think Nikki will be giving her email at the end. If you don't know who your sales rep is, you can email Nikki, and we'll make sure to get you in contact with your sales rep who can discuss the pricing specific to you. Let's see, another question, I believe it's probably Kara. Are the end users able to customize dashboards, charts, and reports?
Yeah, actually, Lucia, I can take that one. Our goal here with Premier Analytics was to make it as easy as possible for customers to deploy very easily and have it working out of the box on day one. So we focused a lot of time in applying best practices and being able to understand how best customers would want to visualize some of these key performance metrics, and that was really part of the market requirements gathering process. So we've really spent a lot of time having those best practices in place so that it's visualized in a way that makes sense for project-driven and government contracting businesses.
Okay, great. And for Mike, how do you see GCS Premier Analytics helping you to better manage your business?
Probably the first and foremost is it stops the whole accounting staff and functions from always looking backwards. And what it allows to do is that we can look in real time with real-time data, and I have to not to input all the data all the time and take those precious resources to do that. But because we have trending, now I can actually look to the future. When I'm starting to look to the future, what that allows me to do is I can start to influence and shape how we want to do business, where we want to go. For example, if I saw that a contract was ending, I knew that my LOE or my labor direct utilization was down, I could start to make those shifts proactively, and I can start doing that. One, that keeps the customer happy. Second thing, it keeps the cash flow in for us. And the third thing, it just, I think, is good, sound fiscal responsibility that we should be exhibiting within our roles in accounting.
Okay, thank you. Here's one that I think is probably for Nikki or Kara. Within the presentation, we mentioned that this solution does not replace Impromptu. Why would someone want to invest in both Premier Analytics and Impromptu?
Well, let me start answering that one. The thing is, you'll still continue to need, well, let me back up a little bit. Impromptu, what it provides is, day-to-day operational reports. So if you still want to have, detailed transactional information, then that is where, Impromptu is a good fit for that operational reporting. What we've tried to do on the Premier Analytics side, in the cases where it makes sense, that's where we've provided the high level of visibility to your key metrics, and then we've provided drill down to some of the key reports that you would need at a transactional level. So really that's why, depending on the type of operational level reports you need, you may want to continue to use Impromptu or even the reports within GCS Premier itself. I don't know, Kara, Mike, if you want to add on anything to that. Okay.
Okay, and for Kara, for project profitability, can you see the profit percentage by job?
Yes, both under the revenue area, both the revenue and the profit report can be taken down to the project, even down to the task level.
Kara, again, do we have an interface with EVMS?
Not currently. However, it's certainly an option that we're taking into consideration going forward. So I did write that one down and plan to pass that along to the project management team for future consideration.
Yeah, and this being the first version of the product, we're very excited, and again, as we go through the requirements gathering process, that'll really help us understand what are some of the new features and capabilities we need to add. So we're definitely interested in customer feedback as we move forward.
Okay. Let's see. Last question. How is the product mapping to WBS?
Currently, it's just pulling the project task information. The WBS is not something that we're bringing in at this point in time. And that's another great question, and I have that one down to put as a feature enhancement request.
And I think the other thing is that question that's come up that we haven't answered yet is, do I have to be on the most current version of GCS Premier 5.0?
That's a good question, and I think we'll address another one that's sitting out there as far as real time and integration.
Yeah, that just came in.
Yeah. There's two ways to update Premier Analytics. It can either be done on demand, so you can, as the client, you want to do a refresh of the data, do it on demand right now. So that's something that you can trigger, and it will update the application. The other option, if you're doing that option, you just need to be on a current version, a currently supported version of GCS Premier, so 4.1x and higher. You also have the option using Batch Manager to schedule those updates, so you can schedule them to run as frequently as you'd like. If you choose that option, you do need to be on version 5 Service Pack 4. So if you want to schedule the uploads, yes, you have to be on the most recent release. If you don't want to do that, we would still suggest being on the current release, but you don't need to be. You can be on 4.1 or higher.
Okay, thanks, Kara. I think as we're running out of time, we've answered just about all of the questions. I'd like to now pass back to Nikki, who's going to provide a recap, and just take this opportunity to thank Nikki, Mike, and Kara for their time today in presenting this webcast for all of you.
Hey, thank you, Lucia. I want to thank everyone that joined us on this call, and appreciate your participation. As you hopefully have seen, Premier Analytics can truly help you manage your business in a whole new way. It can help you optimize your projects and resources with visibility to key project business metrics, as well as allow you to contain your costs and proactively manage risks. And the key thing, again, we focused on was making sure you minimize your upfront investment, but that you can also achieve a quick ROI. Now, we know, we got a lot of questions today, and we tried to address as many as possible. However, we are going to continue to do further webcasts, and we'll be having deeper dives into GCS Premier Analytics, and those will be happening on August 6th, August 20th, and September 3rd at 1 p.m. So Please, if you have further questions, join in during those webinars that we'll be having. Also, if you want to obtain any additional information on pricing, data sheets, anything else, please contact your sales representative, or you can call Deltec. Additionally, you can contact myself as well, and my email address. We'll make sure that our email address and contact information is in this presentation when it gets posted. Okay, well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for your participation.